Welcome to another edition of When Ebenezer Talks. I'm Pastor Bunting, pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, and I am grateful to be on location today with my good friend, Dr. Jason Knight, the pastor of the Mount Olive Baptist Church. Down here, we're right on the beachfront, y'all. I mean, we're literally, I can smell the water, I can see the sand, and so we're grateful to be here today. Pastor Knight, thank you so much.
Oh, no, thank you,
for allowing us to take time.
Yes, sir.
Doing your Women's Weekend. They're getting all set up for Women's Weekend.
Yes.
Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm Jason Knight, pastor at Mount Olive Baptist Church. Been a pastor here for 11 years. And I'm thankful to God for the opportunity that he gives to me every day to wake up to not only love him, but to love his people. And I'm just excited about what God has for us here. I'm thankful to God for the opportunity not only to be at Mount Olive Baptist Church, but to be down here at the beach. So anytime I get tired, I can go down to the water and just thank him for it.
Yeah.
But I'm honored. I'm honored for this opportunity to be here at the historic Mount Olive Baptist Church in Virginia Beach. So
Very
yes,
good.
sir.
Very good. Tell us, how long have you been in ministry, not counting pastor? How did you get started in
So I actually started singing in the choir. I'm a choir head.
Okay.
And so born singing in the choir, went to church, First Baptist Church, South Hill, and recognized there was a call on my life, ran from it, and was thrust into it. Did youth ministry for about 3 years, was licensed in '09, and God has been moving ever since. And so did choir ministry, youth ministry, assisted my pastor at First Baptist Church, South Hill, and now here I am at Mount Olive Baptist Church.
Wow.
So, 14, 15 years later. So, yeah.
How was the transition moving from a choir head, associate minister, to now being the pastor of a major ministry downtown Virginia Beach? How was the transition?
It was weird, and I say weird in the sense that I had to navigate leaving from being a voice that sings to now a voice that proclaims through word and not through song. And then having to navigate persons trying to divest from just hearing the singer to now hearing the preacher. And then moving from there to walking alongside and being a servant with my pastor, all ones really trying to navigate, where is he going, while in my same breath trying to navigate, God, where are you taking me? And when God finally got me to where he wanted me to be and where he's taken me even further, not worrying about, others and what their perceptions may be of how I should have been doing things, but now just really walking into what God has called you to be. So that navigating was weird for a season, but now it's a little more, I would say, a little more stable. He's still doing some things that will have you, but it's a little more stable, yeah.
You talked about the singing, and many of us, I attempt, but you guys really are bona fide singers.
Yeah.
And I heard a preacher say that he would rather be, he did not want to be defined as a singing preacher, but a preacher who just happens to sing.
Yeah.
And so how often have you had to run into still being looked at as the singer and not the preacher?
So early on I did. I ran into that a lot. And what I had to start doing was make sure that I presented in such a way where persons recognize that one of my main and first focal points is to, number one, be a worshiper first, but I'm a worshiper that preaches, that has the gift to sing. And so I'm not a singer first. I'm a worshiper first, who God has gifted to preach, who just happens to sing as well. And I really had to come to grips with that for myself, and then actually demonstrate that and present that so that persons could now say, okay, all right, he's not just a singer who happens to preach, but number one, he's a worshiper who preaches, who actually has the gift to sing. And that's how I navigated that.
Gotcha.
And being able to do that, I mean, I don't deal with that as much now. Now it's to the point where people are like, oh, you sing? You know, you can sing? And it's like, yeah, you know, but I worship, you know, I wanted to be identified as a worshiper first, who's been gifted now with the call to preach.
That's ironic you say that. I've talked to a lot of quote unquote preachers that sing, and I've never heard one put the worshiper first.
Absolutely.
And so that's amazing that you would say that. So you get here to Mount Olive, what is it, 10 years, 11 years ago?
11 years.
How was it when you first started at Mount Olive? Before we talk about how God has blessed this mega edifice now.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that I realized was when I got here, it was a church in transition. And when you're dealing with churches in transition, one of the things that happens is early on you think that a lot of the things that feel adversarial are personal. And what I had to learn was it wasn't personal, they were grieving. They were grieving the church they once knew. And because there was grief there, I needed to become the greatest grief counselor I could be, instead of taking things personal. So what, you know, you heard the old saying, hurt people hurt people. So when there were times where I felt like I was being hurt because I made a decision here or something like that, it wasn't them trying to necessarily hurt me. It was them being hurt because the church they once knew will no longer be. And so now I had to help them to really go through that process of grief. And we've gone through that. And now being a great grief counselor, helping them now to move from grief to growth. You know, how do we now grow spiritually, not numerically, but how do we grow spiritually so that we can be mature to handle what it is that God will bring into our lives. And so that's kind of been the journey that I've been on here at Mount Olive Baptist Church. You know, it's like taking that plane ride. You know, the takeoff, you got it's a little rough, and then you get up, and then we hit that taxi, and so we're still climbing. We're still climbing, but you can feel that we're starting to taxi a little bit. And so now we're moving toward, you know, our destination. It's not without its turbulence. You know,
that's a sermon in itself.
It's not without its turbulence, but we're going to trust. We're going to trust not only what God has given to us, not through just myself, but to the people. But we're going to trust him as being not only the co-pilot, but the one on the aircraft traffic control. You know, he's letting us know these are the storms, these are the things that are in the way, move this way, while trusting, hey, you're going to get us through these things. And so that's kind of how the journey has been. And so I think right now we're taxing a little bit. We've had some turbulence. We know we'll have some more, but we've been through it before, you know, and we're going to trust God every step of the way. And so we have not yet arrived. God is still doing a great work with us.
Let's talk about this vision.
Yes, sir.
And how, and Dominique will show it, but how you went from, we'll say, the original or the old Mount Olive to the new Mount Olive. I was privileged to preach here about a month ago, and I got to see behind the scenes and how God has blessed. And I followed you just about weekly because we're friends.
Yes, sir.
And so I followed you via social media and how they were framing it up and putting it together. And then I kind of lost track when they closed it in and you marched in. What did God say? He woke you up in the middle of the night and say, Jason, I want you to build a mega ministry right here beside this side the beach.
You know, I'm going to be honest with you. He had given me vision before I got to this house, but he had already had vision for this house before I got to this house. And it took a storm to push it. My 30th birthday, Hurricane Matthew, you'll remember, came through here. And when Hurricane Matthew came through, we was having a surprise birthday party for me here, and the front foyer that we had fell in. And when the front foyer fell in, the bricks in the front foyer fell in too. And so we immediately knew there's something wrong with the building structurally. And so we called in a structural engineer. Structural engineer basically told us, he said, look, your building is falling. And we had already put a brand new roof on. I came in one Wednesday night, the pews were straight, but the walls were bowing. And when the structural engineer told us, he said, your building is falling, I said, okay, Lord, we're gonna have to do something. You know, obviously, what it is that you want to happen, you've now had to bring about something to push a people. And now you have me here to be the one, I would say, bullheaded enough to push him. And so I came in, told them I talked to Barnes Design Group, and what he drew up, I had a notebook before I became the pastor here that I drew. God has showed me the building. I never gave him that notebook. What he drew up was in that notebook.
Yeah.
and
I need you to say that again so they can hear that.
I never showed it to him. I had drew it up in my green notebook. It has tabs in it. I wrote Mount Olive on it. This was before I became the pastor. And I drew it up. And what he drew up was in that notebook. What he drew up as the architect was in that notebook. It was this building, and and he drew it up, and I just sat there and I looked. I said, "Man, this is God. This is God doing this." And this was before I became the pastor of this church, and it was amazing to see that happen. And so I knew it was going to come to fruition, whether I was here or not, because God wanted this to happen here. There's pioneering here. There is legacy here. There is anointing here on these grounds. Dr. King was in the old structure. This is the first church in this community that every other church has come out of. It is birth education. The C-Tech Elementary School was birthed here. We have connection to Hampton Institute, which is now Hampton University. This ministry is a pioneering ministry, and God has his hand on it, and so that's how we got here. Again, it wasn't without its challenges, and I'll tell you this, a bishop once told me this. He said, if it's God's choice, it's God's invoice. If it's God's will, it's God's bill. God will give you vision that goes beyond your budget so that you'll know it is God who will do it. This was beyond our budget because it was God's choice. And it pushed us to having to trust him every step of the way. And I tell you, God allowed us to step out on what others have sunk in so many times. But he concretized those rough waters for us to walk. And I tell you, man, we are sitting in the evidence of faith. Wow. And so I tell anybody, pastor, preacher, anybody who's believing God by faith, come by, touch the building, because this is the evidence of what faith can do. Wow. We didn't have it. I'm being honest with you. We didn't have it when we stepped out. But what we did have was trust in God, faith in God. And now God has blessed us beyond our wildest dreams. Man, I would not have thought we would be in this position in the midst of a pandemic, right? When doors were closing. We were in a building project, and look at where we are. God has blessed us. You know, the project did not stop. You know, most projects have, stoppages. I think we stopped maybe for a week or so because of a storm came through. Other than that, we rolled all the way through. because God's hand was behind it. As you probably remember in the video, I would always show the cross, and I would say, with the cross before us and God's hand behind us, we move ahead. You know, we always had that old landmark in front of us, but we also had his hand pushing us even more. And so that's how we got here.
Wow.
And I'm just thankful to God that he decided to use us in this season to occupy until he returns, man. So
your congregation obviously were very receptive, or it grew on them, I would say.
yeah, yes.
And you were able to lead. Tell us, what did you do other than prayer and preaching? How did you, I don't want to use the word convince, but how did you get your congregation to fall into line with the vision?
Well, I think number one, a vision that is shared is a vision that is carried. That you have to place it in front of people, and you have to show it to them. And then you have to show them that it's starting to materialize. I think one of the things that helped us was not only did we share it, we have things and pictures and things like that, but once things started to materialize, we shared that because we wanted them to see that every component of faith, even down to, hey, we've got this permit, we're going to show it to you. You need to see God's hand in every aspect of it. And I think that is what pulled people closely in line. It took a lot of steadfastness. And it takes that. It takes you being steadfast and firm and really believing God. And so I would say to any other pastor or preacher, there are going to be days where you're going to have to stand where you're standing by yourself to believe for them. You know, not just for yourself, but your belief in standing and believing God is not just for you, but for them as well. And as God does it because of your belief, then you'll start to see their belief to come up. And there'll be moments where you'll cry out, like, you know, the man that Jesus talked to about the son that was dealing with the spirit, and he cries out, Lord, help my unbelief. You know, you're going to have those moments. And I would say be vulnerable enough to have them, to say, look, I have those moments, help my unbelief, but get to the place where you say, Lord, I believe, right? I believe, even if others don't, I believe. And I think for this ministry, our context, that really helped us. You know, they were able to see in conferences, in meetings, he really believes this. You know, he's really trusting God with this. And God says, okay, you've trusted me with it. I'm going to do it. You know, this is going to bear my hallmark. No one will be able to say, oh, well, this was a Jason Knight thing, or this was just a people thing. Look, man, we didn't have it. You know, God had to do it. God had to get us the loan. God had to open the door. God had to start pouring funds in out of nowhere, man. I mean, testimonies of people who would drop off $20,000 or, you know, come out of nowhere and drop X amount of dollars because God said, no, if you're going to trust me, then I'm going to show you what trust in me can do. And I think that's what really started to move people to say, okay, let's do it. We see his faith, we're believing that faith, and we're going to follow behind that. You know, Paul said, you know, follow me as I follow Christ. You know, that faith that he had in Christ, you know, to follow him by faith. You know, that's all I ask people to do. Just follow me as I follow Christ by faith. You know, and here we are, man. We're sitting in a sanctuary that is being flipped for a women's conference. It's amazing, man, what God can do, man.
That's awesome.
It's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your family. You're married. You have a child.
Yes.
And your wife is very active in your ministry. What does Jason Knight do for downtime? Because this is Clergy Appreciation Month, so let's talk about the need for self-care. And you may not, because some of us don't do a good job of that. What do you do for downtime?
Well, I don't do the
Other
best
than come to my
job.
house
Let
and
me
eat
tell you,
at
I'm
the
gonna tell
grill?
listen. I don't do the best job. But what I'm thankful for, because I am in the beach, and what I've started to do now that the project is over, is those moments. I'm sitting right here at the water, man. I'm at the ocean front, and so I take the time to just go and sit and to be with God, to relax. I utilize these, places where you can go. We see people that got the bucks and all this stuff, but I utilize them. I walk in. You ain't gonna tell me I can't walk in there and chill. I go and I chill out, because anybody that does not rest to be able to do this work will find themselves burning out and not wanting to do it anymore.
Exactly.
And that's why rest is so critical. And so I find ways to rest. I'm learning to find ways to do it with my family, to take that time to just be with them, to be with my wife, to be with my daughter. And it's still within its challenges, especially when you know the demand or the size of ministry that God is calling you to. But a person that can't rule his home well, cannot find rest, and cannot manage that well, can't manage God's house. And one of the last things I want my wife to feel like is that I'm more married to this than I am to her. That my daughter would feel like I'm more of a father here
Than you are at home.
than I am at home. And so I'm learning that. I'm doing better with that. I try to make sure that I'm doing better with that. But that's what I do. Conferences are not vacations.
That's right.
Conventions
aren't either.
They're not.
National Baptist is
that is not a vacation.
That's right.
Because you're still working.
That's right.
But I'm talking real vacation where don't nobody call. Don't know, y'all are good. We've got the systems in place. We don't need, everything is going to be straight. We are good to go, to where I can just go be with family. And I'm learning how to do that. So I will encourage every pastor, find you that time. Find you that time to do that. I'm thankful November is coming up. That's my anniversary. I ain't preaching the whole month. Somebody preaching every Sunday.
Yeah.
And then that last week, I'm out of here. I told them, don't call me.
Yeah, exactly.
Y'all good.
Yeah.
I love y'all, but I'm gone.
Yeah.
And my wife, my daughter, we out of here. I don't care where we going, but we going. And so, because we just need that time. And I think as I grow more in ministry, as the ministry grows, we get more systems in place, I'll be able to build in that space to where rest will be even more important, to where I can say, okay, give me a whole 60 days, give me 2 months to just go on a sabbatical. And I got systems in place that can afford for that to happen. And so, but yeah, it's very important. It's very important, yeah.
What do you say to a young person that comes up to you after a service and you've preached or you've taught, and they look up at you and say, Pastor Knight, I want to be like you. I want to be a preacher like you. I want to follow in your footsteps. We've all had people that we have emulated or imitated or whatever, and we said as children, I want to be like him. I want to be like her. What does Jason Knight say to that person that says that to him?
Number one, be yourself. Number two, be better than me. Jason Knight is the best Jason Knight he can be in the world. You have to be the best you that God has called you to be in the world. You can take bits and pieces of things that I may have shared to apply them to your life, but be the best you. My uncle, who was a pastor years ago, used to say this. He said, if God never wanted you, he wouldn't have called you. And I never understood it until I started recognizing I needed to develop my own voice and not be my pastor's voice, or not be a G.D. Patterson's voice, or not be a Joseph Walker's voice, but I needed to be a Jason Knight's voice, because he called Jason Knight. And so I would tell a young person, listen, God has a calling on you. Be your authentic self. You are the best you that you can be. Let God cultivate you. mold you, use you for his glory, and then be better than me, right? Even Christ said, greater things you will do than I. I'm not egotistical to not be able to tell somebody, I want them to be better than me. I want you to be better than me.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's a disservice if in my serving and in my preaching and in my teaching and in my loving that I've created a bunch of people who will only reach my highest level and not their highest, right? I think it is my responsibility to teach them, to grow them so that they can be better than me, be better than me. This is just the beginning. You know, there's somebody that will come up to me and be in their authentic self. I want you to get the whole city, you know, the whole block, you know, to occupy for the Lord, so that we can win more souls to Christ. Don't just do what I did, do better than what I did. Greater things you will do than I. And so that is what I would share. That's what I have shared when ones come to me. Don't be me, be better than me. You know, because sometimes we find ourselves stuck in somebody else's shoes, not being able to chart our own way because we won't tighten up our own and walk the way God would have us to. So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing your space with us and sharing a portion of your story. God has truly blessed you.
Yes, sir.
To be able to minister in these challenging times. What word do you say to the people who are watching, who are going through shutdown and are struggling with still believing in Christ and struggling with all that they've got going on? What do you say to them?
I would say, don't stop believing. I know that's cliche, but we are sitting in, we are talking in what belief in God and trust in his power can really do. And there are going to be moments, we're talking about this plane ride that we talked earlier, there are going to be moments where you're going to hit turbulence along this journey. But you've got to trust the pilot. You got to trust that the pilot already has the coordinates on the destination you're going to get to. And you got to trust the voice on the ground that lets that pilot know, go high here, go low here, turn there. Because all of it is leading to you getting to the best possible you and to the destination that God has called you to. So in these trying times, as you are taxing and going through life, trust God. Don't stop believing. And in everything, as Paul declared, give thanks unto God in Christ Jesus. By faith, he'll hold the plane together. By faith, you don't have to be in the cockpit to know there's a pilot there. By faith, trust the air traffic controller. By faith, trust that God will get you to your destination. And I promise you, you'll land. Land may be rough, land may be smooth, but you'll land. But you got to trust God every step of the way. So don't stop believing. That's what I would encourage you. Don't stop believing.
That's your sermon in 2 minutes. Thank you, Dr. Joseph Knight. God bless you.
Yes, sir.
Mount Olive Baptist Church, Burnett Road, Virginia Beach. If you're in the area, you need to be in this place. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mount Olive. This has been another episode of When Ebenezer Talks. I'm Palmer Bunting. God bless you and good night.
Good night. God bless you.